Dear students, let us continue our study in this paper entitled Question Documents, and in this particular module we will see how the alteration in document is done by erasure, that is rubbing. In the previous module we have studied that how the alteration in document can be done by addition, that is addition in between the vacant spaces to change the meaning of the document, and it can be done by overwriting. Another way of altering the document for a fraudulent case is by erasing some important information so as to change the meaning of the document. After studying this module, you will be able to know what is meant by the term eraser in context to altering the documents. You shall be able to learn the different types of erasers, that is, it can be a chemical eraser or it can be a physical eraser, and then you shall be able to learn to identify the erasure on a document. Now, let us begin with knowing what is meant by erasure properly as a definition. Erasure is a method of alteration of any document by using the methods such as rubbing, scrapping or wiping out. So, you can say it may be a correction method which is made by erasing, such as rubbing, scrapping or wiping out. But sometimes the term erasure refers to an effective revocation of a will or a portion of a will, and in that case it is clearly a fraudulent case. Erasure can be achieved and so is classified as chemical erasure or physical erasure, which can also be mechanical erasure. So, there are two types, one is chemical, other is physical or mechanical erasure. Let us try to learn in detail more about these two methods of erasure, that is erasure, which is the method of altering any document by rubbing, scrapping or wiping out with an intention to change the meaning of that particular document. Starting with the chemical erasure method, chemical erasure is just a process where you will be using chemicals to do so. So, in this process, bleaching the color of the ink by converting colored compound into colorless compound is done, and the ink itself remains in the paper in invisible form. So, this is very important thing that you have to remember, because this will help in your investigation. The commonly used chemicals for erasing or the eraser purpose are sodium hypochlorite, potassium permanganate, oxalic acid, stannous chloride solution and sodium tungstate. Chemical erasure can also be done with suitable solvents. Ballpoint pen inks can be partially or completely removed from paper by the application of some solvents like tetrahydrofuran or acetone, etc. So, you can see in this figure that originally this was the check written and this blue ink has been totally removed and this check has been made into blank. And this chemical erasure is a result of rewashing the check once in alcohol and then in nail polish remover, which mostly consists of acetone along with other solvents, and the pilot rolling ball pen fine pen is then used in these checks to rewrite the amount. So, this is a chemical erasure case. And let me talk about again these chemicals. They were sodium hypochlorite, potassium permanganate, oxalic acid, stannous chloride solution, sodium tungstate. So, all of them will be interacting with that particular ink and making them colorless. But the ink, let me repeat, will remain there, and that is going to give you a clue that yes, this particular document has been altered by erasure, and that too it is a chemical eraser. Coming to the physical erasure, or which is also referred to as abrasion erasure and also referred to as mechanical erasure. Physical erasure in a part of writing can be done by abrasion of the surface of paper, that is just scratching that, removal of that upper paper part with the help of rubber or sharp instrument like razor blade, scalpel, knife or emery paper, etc. The characteristic feature of physical erasure is removal of the surface fibers of paper which make the erased document comparatively, that part of the document will be comparatively thinner and it will become translucent. As an exercise, you try doing that. You write something and then you rub and then look it in the light, you will come to know that yes, this is the part of the paper which has become translucent, and you can clearly identify this is where erasing has been done. But if some weak pencil writing is erased with a very soft rubber as eraser, then there will not be any mark of abrasion of the surface fibers, because the surface fibers may not be damaged to the appreciable degree, and those rubber particles get embedded in the fibers of the paper. But then this is going to give you clue. That is, I repeat, the rubber particles will get embedded in the fibers of the paper. If sizing is damaged, the paper surface becomes porous, and any subsequent writing over the erased area with fluid ink pen usually will show feathered ink lines. So, carefully when you examine this area, you will come to know that yes, here erasure has been done and then over this the writing has been done. The application of sharp instrument causes disturbance on the surface of the paper, or you can say on the finish of that particular paper, and this can be detected by examining the document by oblique light, that is by a beam of light falling at low angle. That is, if the paper is here, light travelling in a slant manner will be oblique light. So, at this angle then you will be able to identify that where this document, which part of the document has been erased. The soft rubber eraser particles can also be easily detected under microscope or by subjecting the erased area to iodine vapors. So, immediately these rubber particles will be catching this iodine vapor, and that part will become dark brown, because the iodine vapor will be absorbed on these rubber particles. So, that is how you will be really very easily able to analyze that yes, the erasure has been done by the physical abrasion method. Coming to detection of erasure in more detail. Detection of chemical erasure, if we talk about here, examination of invisible ink can be done by one method by using the UV rays. UV rays play an important role in detecting and decipherment of chemically erased writing without even altering the document, that is without even damaging the document. The action of the chemical eraser often changes the fluorescence of the paper, and most of the chemical erasure can be easily detected and even photographed by UV rays, and as a witness in court you can really prove that yes, with this photograph that this part has been erased after the UV rays when you photograph them. Coming to the detection of erosion by physical erasure. The application of sharp instrument causes disturbance on the surface finish of that particular paper, as I told you earlier also, and using this fact you can detect or examine the document by using the oblique light, that is the beam of light falling at a low angle. But when there are soft rubber erasure particles, they can be detected under the microscope, or you can subject the erased area to iodine vapors where they will become dark. There are some recent techniques which are more advanced in terms of detection of this erasure. So, if we talk about that, one such instrument is the Video-Spectral Comparator, abbreviated as VSC. When a portion of the document has been altered and some portion is not clearly visible or some text has been added, then the Video-Spectral Comparator can be used to decipher the alteration. The image is examined by viewing it on a monitor in this particular instrument setup, and the digital image processing is done through a computer. You can see the visual here showing the Video-Spectral Comparator. And if we talk about VSC apparatus or the instrument, the Video-Spectral Comparator has an imaging device that includes a color change coupled device, which is CCD video camera. A black and white CCD video camera, excitation barrier filter is there, and various radiant energy sources like of tungsten, halogen and fluorescent lamps are all inbuilt in this instrument. The software of the VSC allows the examiner to record the image of the document. You just keep the document and it is scanned, and this document being examined, once it is scanned, that is the image has been recorded, easily you can rotate or flip and make it convert into its negative, and also temporarily store and mixing with different images, enabling the distinct images you can try overlapping and even compare side by side. If we look at the working of VSC, that is the Video-Spectral Comparator, then we have to have the knowledge of light. So, if you look at this visual, it shows that you are already aware, but let us revise. Light is a form of radiant energy and that occupies 400 nanometers to 700 nanometers range of the electromagnetic spectrum and travels in different wavelengths. So, you can see here you have the radio, microwave, infrared, visible, ultraviolet, X-ray and gamma rays. So, when we are talking about the visible range is from 400 nanometers to 700 nanometers. So, with this background, the VSC uses actually a combination of cameras, lights and filters, because in the document what you are able to see is only in this visible range through our eyes. But when you make this document get examined under variety of lights, then obviously some or the other you will be able to find the difference between the original writing and the altered writing, or where the eraser has been done in that particular document. So, the VSC uses a combination of cameras, light and filters to allow an examiner to produce each of these effects under certain circumstances. There are some wavelengths such as IR and UV which are not visible to the human eye, and when these wavelengths are used, the object which is used in visible region and appeared black. Now in IR it appears very clear like a piece of glass. For instance, the VSC's camera operating in the IR portion of the spectrum can capture an image lying underneath an opaque blue ink, similar to the way an X-ray captures the images of bone through our skin. So it will be able to give you that picture which otherwise our naked eyes will not be able to find out. And there are some changes when light is directed towards an object, and usually these changes depend upon the emitted wavelength. And what are these changes? Let us look, which will be giving you a clue how to analyze the documents using this instrument. All or most of the light can be reflected off the object, making it appear white if white light is emitted, or lighter if only specific wavelengths are emitted. All or most of the light can be absorbed by the object, making it appear black or darker. So, this is the basic principle of light absorbing or emitting, and that is how we are able to see these objects colored. So, extreme black where everything is absorbed, and extreme other end is white where everything is transmitted or emitted. Part of the light can be reflected and part can be absorbed, and this is where the colors are produced, that is will result in producing colors in the visible portion of the spectrum. The different intensities of radiant energy, they can be displayed using the VSC as shades of grey in the non-visible portion of the spectrum. Light can also be transmitted through the object, in this case the document. Light can strike the object, be absorbed and then re-emitted at a longer wavelength, an event which is called as luminescence. And using these all features and characteristics of light and absorbance and emittance, VSC will be able to give you different views of the document that you have, the document that you are analyzing using this instrument. And yes, subjecting the document to different lights, UV or IR, then you will be able to detect what are the minute changes in terms of additions, overwriting and erasure which have been done in that particular document, and you will be able to investigate and come to conclusion that whether that document has been altered or not. And yes, you can then establish that it is a fraudulent case or no. So dear students, let us now summarize what we have learnt in this module. In this module, we have extended the study of the previous module where we studied that how the alteration in documents is done by addition of some letter or word or even sentence in the vacant spaces in the original written document by the intention of changing the meaning of that particular document. Or there can be the case of overwriting, but we studied that yes, in overwriting, when the original writer is doing overwriting, he or she will do it casually without putting pressure. So all the type of characteristics which are associated with these two we had studied. And continuing that, another way of changing or altering the document is erasure, that is by erasing. And we studied that erasure is a type of alteration in document which can be classified as chemical erasure and physical erasure. Chemical erasure, as the name tells, is erasing by the use of chemicals, that is making the ink appear transparent, but keep in mind the ink is there. So, when you subject it to instruments like VSC or with UV light, you will be easily able to detect that yes, some chemicals have been used to make the ink invisible, and then maybe it is rewritten for some benefit, like we discussed the case of check, to have some fraud done. And we studied that there are many type of chemicals which are able to make the ink invisible, like oxalic acid, sodium hypochlorite, KMNO4 and so on. Physical erasure, when we talk about, we studied that it is the physical abrasion of the paper by using any sharp instrument such as knife, blade, etc. The erasure can be deciphered under oblique light or UV light, or even using the more advanced technique in detection, which is the VSC, that is the video spectral comparator. And I am sure that knowing all these details, you will be able to analyze a document and find out and investigate and come to the conclusion that yes, whether this particular document is fraudulent or no, whether it has been altered or not. Thank you.